Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we're going to talk about and sort of reflect on the Nintendo Direct that happened. And I think overall it's actually a really good Direct. But I think what made it a good Direct was the amount of announcements here, which I make to be about 44, 43 announcements of just stuff that was shown off, which is always nice, you know, getting a ton of information on games and release dates. But I definitely feel like it was a good Direct, it wasn't a great Direct. And I think it's actually kind of down to Nintendo as to why I don't think it really hit the heights it should have. So let's go through it. I'm just going to go through this list of games and stuff that was shown off first, and then we're going to talk about it more in depth. So, from the first party stuff, from Nintendo's side, we got a look at Rhythm Heaven Groove, or Rhythm Paradise, Pokemon Pokopia DLC, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, the DK Bonanza stuff, so that had like a DLC event, but then there was also the DK card event thing, which was kind of cool. The Xenoblade Chronicles Switch 2 updates across the board for all of the first three games. We'll look at Xenoblade Genesis, Nintendo Switch Sports Resort. We had a look at a Star Fox demo, Splatoon Raiders, and then at the very end, Ocarina of Time remake. Got a little bit of a tease. On the third party side of things, we had a ton of things. We had Onimusha, Way of the Sword, Dragon's Dogma 2, Stellar Blade, Orbitals, Rayman Legends Retold, One Piece Grand Gourmet, Deltarune Chapter 5, Jujutsu Kaisen Rumble, Lords of the Fallen 2, Lies of P, Devil May Cry 5, Big Walk, Final Fantasy Resonance, The Duskbloods, Dragon Quest Monsters, The Withered World, Minecraft, so like a actual Switch 2 version, Space Marine 2, Kingdom Hearts 1 to 3 collections, Kingdom Hearts 4 got shown off, Ninjala 2, Muramasa, RuneScape Dragon Wilds, Hello Kitty Party Island, Pikuniku 2, Metaphor ReFantazio, Observer, DayZ, Metal Gear Solid Collection 2, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Tales of Eternia Remastered, SnowRunner, Fitness Boxing 3, Everbloom, and I believe it's Final Fantasy XIV Online. So, just reading through that list, there's a lot of good stuff here, right? So let's start with the third party stuff. I think we saw some really, really big games coming, you know, this year or in the next sort of 6 months. You know, look at Capcom. They've got Devil May Cry 5 coming, which I think is a huge get. They've got Onimusha Way of the Sword, which isn't even out yet, so that's a day and date. So that's similar to like Resident Evil 9 and Pragmata. And also Dragon's Dogma 2. That's huge. That's a big old game. Probably going to be running at 30 frames on that system, but like huge get. And then you get things like Stellar Blade, which I'm like, that was a big deal when that came out. Like, it might have not sold like hundreds of millions, but it sold like, what, 3-4 million copies or something? Like, did really well. And it's an action game as well, so getting that and like Devil May Cry 5 is awesome. I love those kind of games. And then you got things like Rayman Legends Retold, which is like a perfect fit for the platform. Yes, we already knew it was coming to the Switch 2, but perfect to show up here, you know, along with other platformers. This is the place to play that sort of stuff, so I was really happy about that. You know, Deltarune, a Chapter 5, I'm sure a lot of people were really happy to see that. That seems like the sort of game that people really like. They seem to really like Toby Fox's output on that. And then we're getting other big ports of like Lords of the Fallen 2 and Lies of P. Like Lies of P Complete Edition. Again, I don't know much about Lords of the Fallen, but I know that Lies of P was very well liked, so that's a huge get. And then we're getting a brand new Final Fantasy, which is crazy. Like in the 2D HD style. You know, that's really, really cool. Looks nuts, honestly. That's going to be something that is going to be a very, very interesting take on a Final Fantasy game. So, you know, very cool. Duskblood, I think, is probably a bit of a disappointment for some people because it didn't show anything. They just showed some like still screenshots and then said closed network. So Duskblood's definitely ain't coming out this year. I reckon it's coming out like February, or January, February, March next year. And or they're going to bring it out like December, which will be interesting. You know, Minecraft, big deal for a lot of people. Space Marine 2, I'm very curious to see how that runs on Switch 2. I've got it on PC, and that game runs fairly well, but definitely has a couple of issues, but that might be more my rig. Kingdom Hearts 1 to 3 is huge. I can finally play these games in a place where I want to play, and then they're not cloud versions. Like, we're actually getting proper versions of these, so I'm really, really excited about that. Kingdom Hearts 4 as well, showing up here, is huge. That just shows the sort of commitment that Square has towards this system. They're not mucking around. Pretty much everything they're putting out is coming to The Switch 2. Muramasa, I don't know if that was like a remake or I don't know what the thing on Muramasa is, but that's a really cool game. I actually will get that because I meant to play it back on a Switch and never got it. So back on the Wii, sorry, and never got it. And then things like Metaphor ReFantazio from Sega, big get, popular. You know, the Persona, similar to Persona, those RPGs do very well. Something like DayZ is crazy to me, seeing that come out after all these years. But like, I don't know how well something like that will do on the system. But cool nonetheless. Metal Gear Collection 2, obviously, we knew about that, but that's super cool. Looking forward to that. Rise of the Tomb Raider being dropped literally day of is, I think, awesome as well. And then having, you know, like Final Fantasy 14 come, and then also like Tales of Eternity Remastered. It's a big amount of third-party support, and I think that's the best thing about this Direct, is it shows that these companies are actually bringing games to the Switch 2. Some day and date, some a few years after, obviously, now the system's out, but I am really excited to see a lot of this stuff and see how well it runs and see what's worth it. Like, I probably won't get I'll get some of these games, but I probably won't get all of them. But I'm very excited. You know, I'm glad that we're getting that kind of third-party support. No one can turn around now and be like, oh, you know, Nintendo has no third-party games or whatever. The indie games come in, the third-party games come in. Awesome. So let's flip to the first-party stuff. And I think this is where Nintendo is in an interesting place. Because I do think Nintendo has a very, very decent amount of games coming out, and I think that's what's good about this system, is they seem to keep up. Like either every month or every couple of months you're getting a brand new game from Nintendo, which is what's really cool. Right now, my issue here with this is this was the first Nintendo Direct in a while, and we're getting it in the sort of the gaming month, if you will, if that's what June has become. I feel like Nintendo needed to pull out a bit more stuff, in the sense that I think they just needed, you know, the price rise is coming later this year. I think just having a couple more games that are coming out in 2027 show up would have been kind of cool. I wouldn't have expected like gameplay, but similar to the Ocarina of Time remake, you know, get some more like trailers in showing that these games are coming. Rhythm Heaven Groove is a game that I think I'm probably going to get. Like, I like those games. It's music based. I enjoy that sort of stuff. I think it's fun. I know they said there's Switch 2 versions coming, but I will likely get the Switch 1 version of it and just play it on my Switch 2, because it's not like the game's going to run badly. Pokemon Pokopia, getting DLC makes a ton of sense. That game actually did really well. It blew up quite a bit, and it sort of became that placement for Animal Crossing, if you will, for now. I think they're smart to have shown more of that off. Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, I think, looks awesome. It's a game that I definitely want to play. But since watching the Direct, there is a rumor that this game is going to be, at least in America, it's going to be $80. I think Nintendo needs to drop the whole $80 thing, and doing that on a Fire Emblem game is actually going to do more damage to the brand than I think people actually buying it. This is not a game series that's like, if you're charging $80 for a Mario or a Zelda, I kind of get it. I don't like it. I'll never like that price, but I kind of get it. But on Fire Emblem, I don't think that's the one, Chief, like, if that is the case, because it's a really good looking game. If it comes out at that price and over here as well, I definitely won't be buying it. I'm not paying those kind of exorbitant prices on these games. They're not worth it. Like, Mario Kart World was not worth it, and we'll come to that in a minute. Then we had, like I said, the DK Bonanza stuff, the in-game challenges, and also the cards and things. Like, I will have a look into this and try and get a bunch of them and see how that goes, just to see what it's like. But it's kind of cool, like something different to do. My only issue is that if these cards and stuff are done on the system, but then require, like me, I don't have the expansion pass, so I don't have access to, say, like Game Boy Advance games. So does that mean I just miss out, like, on that? Or like, are they going to limitedly be like, hey, you know, actually you can play these events or whatever? So I kind of need to like go and mess around with it and report back on that, because it could be interesting. The Xenoblade Chronicles Switch 2 updates. I know a lot of people didn't like Xenoblade Chronicle X's update, and they said it had problems. I like the fact that it became 60 frames, but obviously there were some graphical issues. The fact these are getting sort of 4K updates and all these other updates that they're meant to be, plus running at a higher frame rate, and on top of that getting some extra content in like bikes and stuff in the first game, and there's like extra modes and stuff. I like the fact that these games are just getting a lot of love. All the Xenoblade Chronicle games are great, and two specifically is the one that everybody wants to see in motion, because that's the game that needed the most love. It's a bit blurry, but very, very cool. And then we had Xenoblade Genesis, which was a cool reveal. I'm not going to knock the fact that it was a cool reveal. I just don't know if Xenoblade Genesis is in the style that I would want. I like the fact that in the Xenoblade Chronicles games, yes, you have swords, but it's all like energy swords, and everything's very futuristic and sci-fi, and then you got like the guns and the crazy stuff like that. In Genesis, it looks like everything is like bows and classic swords, and I think that's fine. I think, I don't want to judge a game before it's even out, but I do think that like I liked the aesthetic of the other ones with having these, like the Buster Sword, not Buster Sword, that's Final Fantasy, the Monado Sword. Having the Monado blade and stuff like that in the first game was like a blade with an energy thing coming out, like was super cool and like very original. So we shall see. We shall see what they do with this. I'm obviously very, very interested this next year, and I will keep an eye on it and see. I think I need to see more of the gameplay and stuff like that, like what's actually going on in the game. Nintendo Switch Sports Resorts makes a ton of sense. Like the Nintendo Switch Sports did really well. My only disappointment here is it's like a lot of the same sports. I think this is actually a little bit of a con, this game, in the sense that, like, yes, it's a Switch 2 game, and so they want to bring over some of those games, but where's football? Where is, a bunch of the other... They could have done, like, sword fighting in this one. They could have done so much more than they have. It's going to come down to how much the content is. Like, the content in this game needs to be very, very good for me to even think it's worth it. Because if this comes out at, like, £50 or £60, I'm not sure it's something I'm going to buy. Like, I like having sort of party games on my Switch as well as the regular games that I play, but I'm not sure about this one. I do think it'll do well, and I do think it's the sort of game that Nintendo needs to have. Like, no matter how I feel about it, you need a good mix of the sort of more casual stuff as well as like what people expect from Nintendo and their classic franchises. Then we've got a Star Fox demo. I'm not sure whether I want to play this. I've pre-ordered the game. I've never played Star Fox 64 before. Maybe I will download it and give it a whirl, because it's probably going to be a lot of fun, and it'd be good for me to actually get a feeling for how that game's going to play. Splatoon Raiders getting like some showing off here and all that. This is actually the first time I've been excited for Splatoon in a while. I kind of fell off of Splatoon 2. I didn't like the control scheme. I felt like the game really didn't feel nearly as good as the first game, and this seems, because it's all mainly single player, it's actually sound kind of fun. It's like lots of salmon run while collecting loot and going hunting for stuff. It does sound good, so I'm kind of interested in that, and that's out next month, so not long to wait. And then lastly, let's talk about this Ocarina of Time reveal. I think this was the biggest misstep in the entirety of the Direct. Not because Ocarina of Time Remake won't be good. I mean, I don't necessarily know if I'll play it, because I didn't like Ocarina of Time that much. Not as much as other people. I thought it was good, but it had major problems. So, if they manage to fix a lot of that, I'll be interested. My issue is that this game is coming out this year, and they showed naffle. Like, if you're going to have a thing like that, there should have been a bigger blowout on this. Yes, this game is probably going to get something shown off in September, would be my guess. And then I think the game's coming out in November. And quite frankly, they should have shown, even if it wasn't gameplay, they should have shown more of the areas in the world, or more of the characters and things like that. What we got, which was crap. Like, let's call it what it is. It was crap. Like, I don't want to see a game that's coming out in 2026 and just see a tease like that, right? We're halfway through the year. You've got 6 months left, right? And the likelihood is it's going to come out in November. Early November would be my guess. Regardless of what people are saying about GTA 6, Zelda's Zelda. Like, I don't think... Two very different audiences, right? I think this game comes out pretty much early November, and it'll do absolutely fine. I think people need to stop hyping up GTA to the point where it's getting ridiculous. But that's a video for another day. But I think already Ocarina of Time Remake is coming out then. I think it's going to be Nintendo's end-of-year showstopper. And obviously it's a big glow-up on the game. That's the in-game graphics. It looks incredible. But I think Nintendo really dropped the ball here in terms of showing off something. Like, showing off new Xenoblade, very cool. Showing off more Fire Emblem. We got a lot of games that are coming out this year. Like, you can't deny that there isn't at least something every month coming out, which is crazy. But if you're going to do, like, you got the Star Fox remake, which looks great and people are really happy about, and you're doing another N64 remake in Ocarina of Time, you can't just show up and show that and expect, like, I am not hyped. I know other people were going to be hyped. I am not hyped about it because I didn't see anything for a game that's coming out this year, and that's something that really bothers me. It's like, you could have shown off, like, I don't know, just the areas, the like shots of like the forest and Hyrule Field and Hyrule Town and all these different things. You could have done something, right? If you didn't want to show off gameplay, you could have done like that to show off like what the game's looking like. But instead, we got a Link sleeping in a bed, waiting, you know, right at the start of the game. And I don't know. I just think Nintendo, what they could have also done here is shown off a couple more games for next year as well. I think that they're maybe a little bit scared because of Metroid Prime 4 and how early they showed that off and whatnot, but they needed like one other big thing here. And the problem is Fire Emblem and Xenoblade are RPGs. Nintendo Switch Sports is a more casual thing. And then Star Fox and Splatoon, kind of like, that's kind of cool, and same with Rhythm Heaven. And then you have Ocarina of Time, and then nothing's really shown. So they needed one more game. And I think it could have been a Mario game, it could have been a Wario game, it could have been anything. And something just to show off that there's another game coming like early next year or into 2027. So that's kind of my thoughts and feelings on this Direct. I actually enjoyed it. I did enjoy the Direct. I'm really happy about the third-party stuff primarily. And what Nintendo is showing is good because it means there's stuff coming out. But I definitely think they're the ones that drop the ball. For a Nintendo Direct that is a general Direct, there should have been more first-party stuff here. Like, again, but it is what it is. I imagine now that either we'll get another Direct in September, or it might be that we get multiple Directs on various different things. So, like a Zelda Ocarina of Time Direct in September and stuff like that. They usually do one around about Tokyo Game Show. So there's a good chance that that'll happen, but we shall see. I'm not expecting masses out of Nintendo now because, like, honestly, if Ocarina is the thing they're going to be focusing on, then they might show off a couple of things for early next year because I don't imagine Xenoblade Genesis is going to be early 2027, but they could do with a couple more games coming out and showing that sort of stuff off, so we shall see. Anyway, that's my thoughts and feelings on it. Hopefully, you know, other people enjoyed it more than I did, and hopefully there was something in there for everybody. But that's going to do it for me today then, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to stick around and see more discussion on Nintendo stuff and any of these games, then hit the subscribe button. And until next video, I will see you then.